Hi guys, welcome back aboard good old Athena. We've been here in Barbados for a little over a month sorting out a US visa for me. That's all squared away now, so it's time for us to get back on the road. Our next destination is 96 nautical miles that way. My name is Mess, this is my wife Ava. I've spent the last 5 years on a somewhat extensive refit of our 1987 Warrior 38 named Athena. That was a DIY fun-packed adventure complete with a very extensive osmosis treatment, building a new rudder using vacuum infusion, rebuilding the entire deck, gutting and subsequently rebuilding most of the interior, painting the topsides, and a ton of other projects. The summer of 2021 we started cruising full time. Now we're finally ready to begin our adventure. The weather for our 96 nautical mile overnight passage looks pretty much perfect, but let me show you. Up here we've got North America, down here we've got South America, and here in the middle is the Caribbean, and of course we are here on Barbados. The winds over the next 24 hours should be around 15 knots, and in terms of sea state we should be looking at about 5 feet at a period of 6 to 7 seconds. All signs point to an easy, comfortable overnight passage, but before we get underway, let's get a head start on the formalities. This is going to be our first experience clearing in and out using the website that's called Sail Clear. I've already created Athena as a vessel and Ava and I as crew members, so now we just fill out this arrival notification. We add the two of us as crew, and well, we definitely don't have any weapons aboard. Additionally, that is the customs form, so let me just do a quick head count of our alcohol and wine. And finally we do a review, and then, well, that should be it. Sail Clear, at least from what I've heard, is used pretty extensively in the Caribbean, but I've yet to experience if it actually makes the process of checking in and out any easier, so yeah, I guess we'll see. There's something else I'm excited for during this sail, and that's to see what happens to our Starlink once we go offshore, but let's get back to that once we're underway.
We are off and it feels so good. I think Barbados was a nice intro into the Caribbean, and it was a really great place, but I think we're ready to head out.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed our time here, but it also feels good to be back underway.
Yeah.
We'll motor out for an hour or so to get a bit of charge in the batteries, and also to just see what the wind does once we're clear of the island. Before we got far enough away from Barbados for the sea state to start building, I went forward and rigged our pole so we can pole out our head sail. It's not a difficult procedure in calm water, but it does require a little bit of fiddling about to get the pole extended and to get the fore guy and the aft guy attached. In our case, we also run the sheet through a block to avoid chafe and to be able to easily furl the head sail. That adds another step to the process. We're about 30 nautical miles into the passage, and the winds have finally stabilized. There were a lot of shiftiness going on as we were getting away from Barbados, but now we have a giant squall on our port side. I think and hope we're gonna skirt past it. In case you're curious, here is what that little squall looks like on the radar. We have our head sail poled out because we're going basically dead downwind. We don't have the main out because we are managing just a hair under 5 knots under the head sail alone, and we don't want to arrive too early at our destination.
Good morning. It is 6 a.m. and we had a pretty good sail through the night. We had a pretty consistent 15 knots coming from behind. It was a little slow. We were going around like 3, 4, 5 knots, but we're getting there. You can start to make out Bequia behind me, and we can see St. Vincent on our starboard side. So yeah, we are definitely getting there. But it's funny, I feel like last night felt longer than our whole Atlantic crossing. Mads and I were saying yesterday how like one night feels like more difficult than if we were going on like a 2 or 3 day sail. Not more difficult, but it just feels like a little bit longer. Like if you have 2 or 3 days, you can kind of get into the hang of things, like into your routine. But when we just have one night, we like find ourselves like constantly checking how many miles we've gone, what time it is, what time we're gonna get in. So yeah, But right now we're about 11 miles from the northern tip, so yeah, we're getting there slowly but surely.
I think I mentioned in the beginning of this video that I was very interested to see how Starlink was going to behave on this passage. About a month ago, we got 2 angry emails from Starlink announcing that we were going to lose internet signal because we had broken the terms of service by using our dishy on a different continent than where we had purchased it, and also that we'd been using it at sea. And both are true, and both were in the terms of service, and I do mention them if you go back and watch the Starlink video from France. Those 2 emails didn't really come as that big of a shock. I figured it was just a matter of time until Starlink was going to start to enforce their terms of service. But along with these 2 emails, we were forced to make a choice on what plan to switch to. And the only real option for us is what's called mobile priority. We used to pay $150 a month for Starlink, and now we're paying $250 a month for Starlink. Now, the mobile priority plan does include 50 gigabytes of priority data, which is the data you need to be able to have data offshore. Unfortunately, right now, it seems like the plan automatically burns through the 50 gigabytes of priority data right as the plan renews at the first of the month. So yeah, I was curious to see how that was going to work once we went offshore. Much like with our old plan, it seems like Starlink is not really, at least not yet, enforcing the terms of service for the mobile priority plan, because we burned through our 50 gigabytes of priority data a long time ago, weeks ago, and we still had a perfectly fast and stable internet connection on the passage. $250 a month for internet is a little bit steep. I would much prefer to pay $150, but considering that it does give us internet offshore, I still think it is a pretty good deal, at least if you consider what you could get a year ago, because you were going to pay a lot more to get a similar connection back then. Anywho, we're getting much closer to Bequia. We only have about 8 miles to go. Once we rounded the island, before getting to the anchorage, I repeated my wrestling match with Mr. Pole. And of course, we are arriving in a new country, so to signal that we have not yet cleared customs and immigration, we put up our yellow Q signal flag. Ta-da! We have made it into Bequia. The anchor is down, although we were that boat this time around, the boat that gives everybody a show. While we were trying to drop the anchor, we had an electrical issue, and it's actually a little bit of a longer story than that, because on the overnight passage coming here, all of a sudden all of our DC and AC stuff shut off. And after a little bit of fumbling about, I found a loose connection on a bus bar. I tightened that and everything seemed to work again. I checked the other ones, but I must have missed one, because there was also a loose connection on the negative side, and that decided to act up while we were trying to drop the anchor. So all of a sudden the windows just stopped working. But well, it all worked out. Anchor's down. Now we gotta do immigration. Before we head to immigration, there's something very important we need to do.
We've forgotten this the past couple countries, so
New country ritual. Mwah!
Woo!
We jumped in the dinghy and zoomed towards town, or zoomed as fast as you can, topping out at 3 knots. There's a very nice dinghy dock here with a giant welcome to Bequia sign. After having securely tied up the dinghy, we found a sign pointing us to customs and immigration. The process of clearing in only took about 5 minutes, and it seems like sail clear did make the process a lot easier. We celebrated our successful arrival with some steaming hot pizza. With customs and immigration checked off the to-do list, I have removed our Q flag, and we're now officially allowed to be here. A little earlier I mentioned our little electrical gremlin with the loose connection on a bus bar, but let me just show you that real quick. There was a loose connection over here on the positive side, and then that connection right over there on that shunt was also loose. I know this looks horrible, but I am gonna tidy it up soonish. Now this right here was the nut that had vibrated loose. Since finding that second loose connection on the shunt there, I've gone over each of them and just given them a good tightening. And there were the 2 really loose ones, and then there were another couple that was just starting to become a little bit loose. I think the best thing I can do right now to double check my tightening of everything in there is just to go over all the connections with a thermal camera when there's a high load on the system. I don't have a standalone thermal camera. I have this one that I plug into my iPhone, but it'll do the job. I'll turn on our oven to get some load on the system. That uses just around 3000 watts. So far so good. Doesn't look like there's any bad connections over there. And everything looks perfect on the positive side too. It took me a while to figure out that the weird low voltage alarms we've been getting was a bad connection, but the next time I see one of those alarms, well, it'll probably be much easier to figure out that it's a dodgy connection. Good morning, guys. We have had a single night here in Bequia. We're getting ready to get underway now. This does seem like a very charming little island, and I think we'll definitely come back here next season. But for today, well, we have a different destination in mind. We're heading to Petite Nevis, which is only about 5 miles south of here. It only took us about an hour to motor around to Petite Nevis. As soon as we got there, we jumped in the dinghy to take a closer look at the island that has a somewhat surprising past.
Here we are on Petite Nevis. It is a small island of just 71 acres just south of Bequia. And I was really excited to come here for 2 reasons. 1, because it looks like a really beautiful place, and 2, because of its history. For almost 150 years, Petite Nevis was known as a whaling station. And shortly after the end of slavery, whaling became really popular for the people of Bequia, and it was one of their main resources. And that is why they built a whaling station here on the island. And you can still find some of the ruins, which is right behind me. And on the other side of me, there's also something pretty cool. And when I say cool, I don't mean from a modern standpoint, I mean from a historical standpoint, because this is the ramp that they would actually use to pull the whales to land once they caught them. The island is actually privately owned by one family, and they were the ones who built the original facilities. But as whaling got more restricted and stigmatized, the family didn't want to be associated with whaling anymore, so they shut down these facilities. But they did open another facility just on a smaller island. But these ruins have been shut down since 1993. Which isn't that long ago. Today, since whaling was such an essential part of the livelihood of the people of Bequia, the International Whaling Commission allows them to hunt 4 whales a year under the Aboriginal sustenance terms, but under very strict rules. The rules are that whaling must remain a traditional and non-commercial activity, meaning no motorboats. Traditionally, whaling was done in these beautiful handcrafted double-ended wooden sailboats, and actually Bequia used to be known for their boat craftsmanship, but maybe we can get into that in another episode. Second, they can only use handheld harpoons, no other weapons allowed. And last, you cannot export any parts of the whale. No meat, no oil, and no bones. Luckily for all the little whalies of the world, whaling has slowed down here in Bequia, and that's mainly because commercial ferries opened up between St. Vincent and Bequia, bringing more resources to the island. And according to the International Whaling Commission, the island has only averaged about 1 whale a year in the past 10 years, and some years they've caught no whales at all.
We made it safely back aboard Athena. Now you may have noticed in the little clip of us in the dinghy that there's another sailboat here in the anchorage, and it's actually somebody we know. It's Zach and Becca. I first met them in Plymouth, and we hung out with them and Kadoa for about a week in the Halford River. And we also spent a bit of time with them in the northern part of Spain, so it is super fun to be reunited here in the Caribbean. Now, Zach and Becca got here yesterday, and they went ashore, and I think they mentioned they spotted little bonfire remnants on the jetty, so they asked us if we want to join them for a bonfire, and they're gonna bring a little bit of dough so we can make some bread on some sticks, and I think we're gonna bring some rum punch. I think we picked up everything we need in Barbados, so let's see if Ava can find a recipe.
Whoop!
Okay.
I think I may have found us a good recipe. I don't know if it's gonna be good. I found it off the internet, but we're gonna give it a go. First, I want to show off my awesome container that I got from Aldi. Hey Aldi, love you. That would be the ultimate sponsorship. But I love Aldi. Okay, because I got this container and you can put this in, you can make like flavored water or put whatever, but what I love most about it, which I just feel like is so nice for cruising, is that it snaps shut and this pretty much is locked closed. So it's really nice to have. Okay, so this recipe from Lemons for Lulu.
Yep. Clearly we're experts at this.
Don't know if that's a reputable cocktail making website. I doubt it. But 1 cup of orange juice. Just make sure it splashes everywhere when you're pouring it in. 1 cup of pineapple. Now, here is when we're gonna take some liberties, because it says 1/4 cup rum and 1/4 cup dark rum. We only have this dark rum, Old Burgund. A friend of ours got it for us in Barbados. It's supposed to be the best rum in Barbados, in his opinion. But we liked it. We thought it was pretty good. So we're just gonna do 2 1/4 cups of this, and we should have enough. For my favorite part, the grenadine. I could just drink this stuff. Ooh, look at that syrupy. It's like cough syrup.
We doubled the recipe and we kind of ran out of rum, but from the depths of the bilge we pulled out this bottle. And this is actually a kind of a special bottle because I bought this bottle of rum when I bought Obelix. The same day I bought Obelix, I bought this bottle of rum. So yeah, this has just been kicking around for a really long time. So we didn't quite stick to the recipe, but yeah, it's a bunch of sweet juice and a little bit of alcohol, and we'll throw in some ice. I'm sure it's gonna be delicious. Firmly back on terra firma, with the sun slowly setting, we sat around the fire catching up with Zach and Becca. They crossed the Atlantic a few months before us, and there were plenty of new experiences and impressions to share. To me, meeting people, making friends, and sharing experiences is what makes cruising fun. We had a ton of fun tonight, but it is getting pretty late. It is way past our bedtime.
Yeah, Grandma and Grandpa over here are usually in bed around like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So.
Yeah, tonight is very late for us, but yeah. Next week we're going to continue further down south and see some more islands, maybe do a bit of diving. That would be cool, but yeah, that's going to be the end of this week's video. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video,
please remember to leave a like.
See you!